gambling account. But what happens when a fun pastime becomes a spiralling addiction?
Sadly, that was the case for our first guest today. Sian McLear's gambling addiction got so out of control she ended up behind bars with her newborn son. And Sian is here with us this morning to share her story. Good morning, Sian.
Morning, Sian.
Good morning. Thank you so much for being
It's
here.
okay.
Brilliant. First of all, let's start off because you kind of got into it almost by accident. You almost fell into gambling by accident because you were going out for a night at the bingo.
So I was just going for a night at the bingo with work colleagues, friends, and they said, if you download the app, you'll get a free game when you go to the bingo hall.
Right.
So that's what I'd done. So obviously downloaded the app and then, you know, you start getting emails, you know, have free spin on us. We've credited your account with like £1, say, and go on. So then I'd start going on. I've never, ever played the games before, the casino games, never done it online. Started and then, obviously, one thing led to another. And before I knew it, I was spending more and more and it just became out of control.
Before it got to the point where it became out of control, though, was that quite a quick process? Because I'd imagine, Sian, if you hadn't done it before and there's something fun, you must have been winning a bit of money along the way thinking, God, this is great.
Yeah. So it's called, like, a significant win. And it wasn't so much. So about off 50p, I think I got 50p free and I won £50. And then I thought, well, that's easy.
Yes.
So I can do that again. That's easy money. And then that's then how it started. So it was only small amounts at first, but a lot, like, frequently. Then it would become, OK, I've spent all the money in my bank, let's get payday loans, let's get credit cards, which I was able to do at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, because you can go online and do it. So I was doing that, and then it just spiralled, and it was, well, what do I do? People can't know. There was a lot of shame around me actually having, you know, this addiction. I knew I wasn't very well, but I didn't understand it myself.
Yeah.
So, you know, what can I do? I can't go on. I can't tell my husband that I've got no money, that I've spent all the money in the bank.
You didn't have a close friend that you could tell. There was literally no one. You kept it a secret from everybody.
But it's also that feeling of being so isolated as well, because essentially what's happened is it's you and your phone, it's the middle of the night, nobody's around, and then you lose a significant amount and you think, you know what, in your own head, you're thinking, I can win that back.
I can win that back. That was always the thought. My mind was so distorted. I always thought, no matter how much money I'd spend, well, it's OK, because I'll win it back.
Yeah. Were you hiding it at this point as well?
Yeah, I hid it until I actually ended up, it all come out. And so just before, you know, before I got arrested, things like that, I hid it up until that point.
That's how bad it gets. Along the way, you had some more significant wins as well, though, didn't you? What was the biggest win you had?
The biggest win I had, £15,000, but I lost it in 6 minutes.
6 minutes?
6 minutes.
So you got that £15,000 in your bank account, you must be thinking, brilliant, I can cover some of my losses here. But rather than thinking that, you thought, I'm going to get some more.
Yeah.
6 minutes, Sian.
I thought I could turn 15 into 30. I thought I could get a put down, an amazing deposit for a house. That was it in my head,
So
what I
upsetting.
thought.
So you worked at the time in financial services, and then you started stealing money from work, didn't you?
So in my head, I never actually stole. And I know this sounds really strange, but in my head, I was borrowing to hide what I'd spent. So I never actually stole to actually gamble. I was stealing to hide what I'd spent out of my bank. But this was happening every day. So this was a couple of £1,000s every day. And so in my head, always lending the money because I was going to win and I was going to pay it back. Up to the point where I went for the interview with the police and they said, when was the last time you gambled? And I said, last night. And I'd actually took my dad's credit card at this point because I'd been sacked from work because I still thought I'd win and make everything OK. And the police were like, but you've still committed the crime. But I was that ill and not thinking straight that I thought, no, but if I win the money back, everything will be OK. Without
How much debt were you in at this point?
So debt-wise, I had numerous credit cards, payday loans. I'd stolen £323,000 from where.
Oh, Sian.
I know, and I could cry thinking about it now.
Sure.
What was this time frame?
3 years.
300 and something thousand pounds in 3 years.
So the first year was like, I think it was around 2000, and the police said they could see how ill and how much it spiralled. So the first year was like £2,000, and then going on the next couple of years, the rest.
Just escalated faster and faster.
Which is a terrible story and heartbreaking story as it is. But then you also found out you were pregnant.
Yeah, so the day I actually got sacked from work, an hour before I'd gone in for the meeting, I took a pregnancy test, found out I was pregnant. So in that day, my whole world came crashing down around me.
When the police interviewed you and you knew you were pregnant, did the enormity of the situation suddenly hit you and,
Yes.
and reality in terms of... Because you had created this false reality in your head. And actually, when I listened to the podcast Hold or Fold, it's a thing that a lot of gamblers do, actually.
Yeah.
What was that moment like when the reality hit you?
Well, I didn't believe the police when they told me that's how much I'd stolen. I didn't believe that. I was like, no, I've not stole that much. So there was that. Also, before that, I was ill. I was self-harming. I didn't want to be doing what I was doing. I was not enjoying gambling anymore. Not once did I enjoy it. When I got to this point, it was like I had to do it. So at this point, I was already really ill, didn't want to do it. So the police actually turned around to me and said, you look like a weight's been lifted off your shoulder. And I said, it has, because I'm not a bad person. This is not what I've wanted to be doing. I've hid this secret, this addiction for 3 years from everybody, and now I can finally talk about it. I think if somebody would have asked me along that way about gambling, because it's never really talked about. I mean, people would ask about drugs or alcohol, but never gambling. And I think if somebody had, it would have been a massive release for me to be able to say, yeah, actually, I got gambling.
I think if it was alcohol, though, or drugs, there's a physicality that changes about you. But therefore, nobody could see any difference, so nobody asked. No. So then what happened next?
So obviously it took a year then from the interview to actually going to court and going to prison. So in this time, I knew I needed help. So 6 years ago, things have changed now, but 6 years ago, I went to the doctors and they said, just prescribed me with antidepressants. But because I was pregnant, I didn't really want to take them. So I knew I needed help. So then I went online myself and I searched up help, and Beacon Counselling Trust came up. They're the North West provider for gambling harm services. That came up, thank God I found them. They saved my life. I will say that, they saved my life. They helped me with my gambling addiction. They helped me with the thought of going to prison and how to handle it with George, with my son and everything as well. So, yes, with that, and then obviously came to court and got sentenced.
And you suddenly got sentenced, Sian, and you realise that you're going to go to prison. You've got a little baby. And George went with you to prison in the end, didn't he?
So he did, yeah. So not for the first 2 months. He stayed with my husband. And it was so hard because he was only 4 months old when I got sentenced. And it was so hard. I couldn't look at a picture of him. So I had pictures of my family up and I couldn't look at a picture of him because I talked about him, but I couldn't look at a picture of him. And then, you know, my husband and my sisters or my family would come and visit and I'd go like that and he wouldn't come to me. And I was like, I can't do it. So we looked around and Style Prison, they've got an amazing mother and baby unit. And we decided, let's give it a go. Let him come in with us. And it was the best thing we'd done. He was going home over weekends with family and he was with me in the week. And it was the best thing that I could have done.
When I was reading about it, they can only stay until they're 18 months, though, because then the memory forms. And so it's great for him to develop this maternal bond with you straight away.
Yeah.
I think what's so interesting for me talking to you, you're so bright, you're so put together, you're so eloquent, and yet you found yourself in this kind of pit of despair where you just couldn't see a way out. No,
that's it. It can just happen to anyone. I think, obviously, the reason me doing this today and things is to show that it can happen to anyone. You know, I don't know, was I going through something in my life and I needed an escape? Is that why it happened? Or was it just purely that I just got sucked in and, you know, and the addiction just came, and it can happen to anyone.
You put your time... How long was your sentence in the end?
So I got 2 years, 8 months. I served a year in prison.
But you put your time to good use when you were in there. You got a degree.
Yes, you did.
So I applied for university with the help of the Longford Trust. They're a charity that they help prisoners go to university. I applied for that, so it started... When I came out in the January, I started my degree in the September.
Which was in
criminology.
And psychology.
Yeah. A brilliant way of sort of trying to get through what you've experienced.
That's it, yeah.
And you're now working for the very charity that you say saved your life.
I am, yeah, so Beacon Counselling Trust, yeah. So I'm an early intervention and education lead. So we go into prisons, schools, we train professionals on the harms of, you know, the gambling harms. And obviously Beacon, they do treatment services for free. It's all free as well, for anyone who is suffering and for affected others as well. So my family could have got help.
Yes.
You know, because it's a massive strain on families as well. So,
it must have been a hell of a shock for your husband when you had to sit down and tell him.
What breaks my heart more than anything, he thought I was cheating on him because of the way I was on my phone, because it was all on my phone. It was secretive. Yeah, so it was, you know, it's been a hard time, but we've all got through it, and yeah.
But Sian, you've turned it around. She's going out fun with George. He's 6 now.
Yeah.
Off for a school day.
Yeah. On Friday, school trip. Yeah.
You've turned it all around.
Yeah, Sian, I mean, we're going to do a phone-in on this a little bit later on, but there will be undoubtedly people watching today that will be worried about maybe loved ones or maybe themselves with some sort of gambling issue or concerns about their interest in these apps that might be getting out of control. What would your advice be to them?
Just reach out. Don't do what I've done and hide it for all these years. I know how detrimental it can be, and how much, how much your mental health can suffer. You know, call Beacon Counselling Trust. It's free advice. You know, just get the help that you need. There are specialists out there who are going to be able to help you. Speak to family and friends as well. It's such a hidden addiction, and there is a massive shame and stigma around it. I think we just need to talk about it more, normalise it. You know, the same as drugs and alcohol addiction.
And you can turn it around.
You can turn it around.
You can turn it around. Yeah. Sadly, this is an issue many struggle with
in
the last 5 years.
Thanks for visiting our This Morning YouTube channel. We upload tons of new content every single day. So hit the subscribe button, like all the videos, and don't miss out. We'll see you in the morning.